You may have realized that being healthy feels different than it did in the past now that you're over 50. If you want to maximize your health potential but don't have time to read through overwhelming pages of Google links, this is the show for you. Welcome to Healthy Tips After 50. We love doing the research, finding solutions, talking to health experts, and learning what works and what doesn't. Now, your host. She spent the last 25 years dedicated to feeling her best and is here to share her best findings with you, Susan Rosen.
Hi, this is your host, Susan Rosen. Today I'm going to be talking about something that I was just reading about, and this is having to do with the 10,000 steps a day that we're all supposed to take in order to optimize our health. I thought it was really interesting because there were a number of people at the Harvard School of Public Health who were looking and trying to figure out, first off, where 10,000 steps a day came from, and also whether there was any actual research done that came up with that 10,000 steps a day number. So they went and did a research study on their own, and they found that in older women that they could take as few as 4,400 steps per day, and that was associated with a 41% lower risk of dying during the study period when compared with women who walked only 2,500 steps a day or fewer. And they also found that it didn't really matter if those women took the steps either power walking outside or just moving around the house. So that could be cleaning the house, that could be just moving things around or putting the groceries away. It was also found that what the researchers, when they tracked deaths in the study group through December of 2017, they found from the, they did postal records, they got reports from family members, death certificates, National Death Index. Anyways, they followed up in every way that they could to find out whether any of the women that were in the study did die, and that's how they figured out what the death rates were. And what they came to was that the death rates were highest among the most sedentary women in the study, but they were lower among women who reached that 4,400 steps a day level. And they found that the rates continued to decline in women who took steps beyond that number up to 7,500 steps a day. And after the 7,500, the mortality rates leveled off. So they weren't getting any additional advantage from taking more than 7,500 steps a day. What they found very interesting was that the outcome showed that even sedentary women can meet the goal by adding about 2,000 steps a day, which is only approximately a mile. And if you think about it, just what people, women, how many steps they take just walking around the house or out doing errands, any of those kinds of things, all of those add up. It's not just going out for a walk. So they also looked at where the 10,000 steps came from, and they think that number likely came as part of a marketing tool. So why should that surprise us? It shouldn't. It seems that in 1965, there was a Japanese business, the Yamasa Clock and Instrument Company, and they sold a pedometer called Manpoke. I'm sure I'm not pronouncing that, but which means 10,000 steps meter in Japanese. And they probably chose that number, the 10,000 number, because if you write that number in Japanese, the character actually looks like a person walking. So it had nothing to do with what was healthy or not healthy. It actually had to do with marketing. Consequently, in this study, because they were trying to find out what actually, let's put some facts around this and some actual research study numbers to see what is the best number for women to take per day, what they should try and average. So this group at Harvard actually looked at 16,741 women. Their average age was 72. So we are talking about older women. We're not talking about 20-year-olds running around. And they participated in the women's health study. They found that between 2011 and 2015, each woman wore a device for 7 days to track her movement. And they were trying to find out the answers to two main questions. One was how many steps a day were associated with longer life, and did the step intensity matter? So it seems that, as I said earlier, I dropped my papers here. It seems that the 10,000 steps just doesn't hold up as being the number that you really ought to be aiming for. Instead, it seems that 4,400 would be good. And if you can get it up to 7,500 steps a day, that'd be great. Because that seemed to be where the mortality rates started to level off, as I said earlier. And they also found that you do not need to walk fast or run or walk upstairs. You can have just go out for a stroll. You can clean the house. You can run errands at the mall. Or you can walk briskly on the treadmill or outside. And all of those count equally for your steps. And it seems that, in addition to that, there are some new federal guidelines that currently recommend that adults get at least 150 minutes per week of moderate intensity exercise, such as brisk walking. And the people at the Harvard Women's Health Watch went out to find out. Actually, I take that back. It was actually the authors of the study, the May 29th study this year. And they estimated that in order to do that 150 minutes each week, it would take about an average of 17,000 steps to meet that mark. And that number they found out of a 2005 study, which calculated the steps 5 female participants in a 6-month supervised walking program. They had the women walk an average of 4,600 steps each day in the course of their normal activity, what they were doing just during the day. And the women who met the 150-minute guideline took an additional 16,400 steps per week during their walks. So if you divide this over 7 days, that gives you 2,300 steps per day when exercising. And then you put that together with the 4,600 daily steps, which is the baseline of what women were doing. And that brings you up to about $7,000 steps per day to meet the goal, which is interesting because that takes you around the same area that the Harvard study came up with as well. So what this whole thing comes together to say is that 10,000 steps was really an arbitrary, artificial number that these people came up with many years ago, and it has kind of gotten into our folklore, it seems like. And it's really not necessary to aim for or even get the 10,000 steps, particularly if you are older. Now, I'm not saying that you shouldn't do that. I know a lot of women who do it. They're in very good health and they're very happy. But what I am saying, and I think what these people are saying, is that if you don't get the 10,000 steps every day, don't stress about it. As long as you are getting some exercise, you are walking, you are doing anything that gives you some extra steps or going up and down steps is going to be good for you. So some of the things that they suggest that will help you in adding some more steps is to get up and down more often. If you're watching television, get up and walk into the kitchen and get a glass of water and come back. Or just walk in place while you're watching television. That you can make more trips to do something, like if you're doing the laundry on a different floor, then don't haul all of it up at one time or all of it downstairs all at one time. Make multiple trips. In that way, you're getting more exercise and you're still getting your errands done. It also says that you should choose active leisure activities like walking the dog and play actively with your grandkids, go ballroom dancing. That'd be a fun one, wouldn't it? I guess if you knew how to do it. I don't, but might be fun. They also say when you go someplace, don't park close to the entrance. That's what my husband and I do. We park a ways away, and then we get some walking in, going wherever we're going and coming back again. Not to mention the fact that we don't have to worry about parking too close to a lot of other people and maybe getting our car scratched or dented. You know what I'm saying, and I'm sure you all know how to do that. But I thought that getting this word out is actually pretty important, because I think that people need to be able to understand and have realistic expectations. And I don't think 10,000 steps is a realistic expectation for a lot of people. So that being said, I will move on to another subject, and that other subject is to remind you all that I am not a doctor, and this is not medical advice. And if you are having problems or issues, you need to go talk to your own doctor. And you also might want to talk to them about this and ask them whether they've heard about the fact that 10,000 steps isn't necessary and really isn't needed. So that's it for today. I will be talking to all of you next week.
This has been Healthy Tips After 50 with Susan Rosen. To stay on the cutting edge of the most effective health strategies, subscribe to this podcast and let us know what you thought of the show with a comment or like on iTunes. Visit healthytipsafter50.com for this episode's show notes, more resources, and free offers.